Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the third grade developmental profile. My name is Paul Salerno, and I'm the school counselor here at University School of Milwaukee. Today we're going to talk about that journey of 8 to 9. And first I want to say that the step into third grade is really a very big step from second grade. And as we kind of talk today as people introduce their child, I think it's important to recognize that there are many factors that influence a child's development. Clearly their age, and so here we have parents in third grade who have an 8-year-old, an 8.5-year-old, a 9 and a 9.5-year-old in that journey. Gender, boys and girls, makes a real difference in terms of a child's temperament. The placement in the family, whether they are the oldest, the youngest, somewhere in the middle. Family experiences. And then a child's unique temperament and personality. So I find it very interesting when I talk today about the 8 to 9-year-old. The 8-year-old is easy to kind of like generalize typically what an 8-year-old is like. But with 9-year-olds, what's very fascinating is that probably the most important determinant of how they're going to be is really their unique temperament and personality. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And so there's really a range as you look at children of these ages. To take you a little kind of journey on development, the classic book on the 6-year-old is called Loving and Defiant. 7-year-olds, and many were just there, is called Life in the Minor Key. And 8-year-olds, the classic book is Your 8-year-old, Lively and Outgoing. They are in the fast lane. And the classic book on the 9-year-old is Thoughtful and Mysterious. So there's going to be a developmental kind of change and a maturation that happens in the journey of 8 to 9. Let's start with 8-year-olds. They are truly living in the fast lane. They walk fast, they talk fast, they eat fast, they work fast. Fast it's like all of this energy, and they need some breaks to get up and to move around. And as a matter of fact, their world is expanding. In some ways, they're like that 4-year-old in which there are less boundaries in their mind, and they really want to explore everything. And even in terms of learning, they're able to think new ways, their language is expanding, their ability to begin to reason is happening. With their energy level, you really need to kind of help them take time to play and enjoy. Health-wise, typically both 8 and 9 are pretty good health-wise. However, what's interesting with your 8-year-old is that your 8-year-old, when they experience something that may be more challenging or a little difficult, they may somatize. Oh, I've got a tummy ache, or I've got to go to the bathroom, or I have a headache. So it's often how they experience something that's more challenging. And as we move into third grade, the curriculum is much more challenging because their ability to think deeper and broader is really an exciting event that we experience, and we want them to experience that as well. The world of language is expanding, and the 8-year-old and into 9 discovers the power and influence of words. At 8 into 9, they begin to understand the difference between the intentions of an action and the results. But I have to say at 8 and 9, they'll always say, but I didn't mean to. That's sort of their default setting, even though they may clearly have meant to. At 8, moms, you're probably the most difficult person in their life. And for you, they're probably the most difficult person in your life. Because at 8, they want all of you. You cannot give them enough. They want to hang out with you, they want your attention, and they are jealous of any time you spend with other children. And you're going to have to really kind of set some clear guidelines for your 8-year-old in particular. As they journey to 9, you're less important, friends are more important, and they're able to just spend more time away. The 8-year-old is a bit insecure in their self-concept. And so they're looking for lots of praise and reassurances. As a matter of fact, they may set you up by actually criticizing themselves and say, well, you know what, I could have done a better job. And what they're really looking for is more praise and reassurance from you. They need that very regularly. As a matter of fact, it's interesting as their need to hang out with mom and be with mom, and they're jealous that you spend time with other siblings, or you have a job, or other activities that use up your time. As much as that, they can really be nasty to mom as well. And so it requires a lot of patience with them. When something is new, they don't always embrace that challenge. And even though they're able to do it, they may complain some about that. Their awareness of other children is growing. And so, as a matter of fact, you may hear a lot in sort of tattling about who's been good and who's been bad in the classroom and the experiences that are there. They like to kind of report on others. Their self-concept is growing, and they're aware now that they're not so good at things. And at this age, they're a little bit more objective about that, but it really does bother them some, but not like it did when they were 7. In terms of sleep, both 8 and 9-year-olds really do need their sleep. And 8-year-olds, however, with sleep and all their routines, it can become a hassle. Taking a shower or taking a bath can be a bit of an argument and a fight and a grumbling. And even getting dressed in the morning can sometimes be that. And or doing setting the table or doing their homework, getting started. Usually once they've gotten through their little bit of a fit, they can get going and do it. But please understand that there is the new expansion of their will. They also begin to recognize that they have more power in their own minds and take advantage of that. At 8, friendship is secondary really to mom. And so, but understanding and having friends is important. And 8 to 9, having a best friend really surfaces. But clearly, at 8, there may be some fondness for a girl, for a boy, for a few of them, and some fondness for a boy, for a girl. But both 8 and 9 are years in which children very much like to play with their own gender and really kind of zero in on that. The other thing that's important is the growing sense of independence. We want to give them those opportunities to be independent. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. At 9, that physical energy that's out there still stays somewhat, but then it goes internal. And 9-year-olds are thinkers and reflectors, sometimes brooders about things. They understand things more and think more deeply about life and what it means. As they move into 9, they begin to understand things like, for example, that people are not immortal, that people are mortal, and that someday even they will die. At 8 and 9, the one vulnerability that's there, especially as they move into 9, is because their mind is expanding, they get what forever means. And so one of the greatest painful experiences for them is any kind of a major change, an extended illness, the death of a family member or a family friend or a pet. Also, a move can be pretty significant and unsettling for them. Parents who might separate or a divorce. And as a matter of fact, I'll give you an example of a 9-year-old who was watching a movie, The Titanic, and all of a sudden just started crying. And when we talked, said that it made me think about my great-grandmother who died when I was 4. But all of a sudden it's registering now. 8-year-olds will, in their complaining, will say things like, "I wish I were dead." They don't really mean that, but you'll see that they're beginning to expand their language, and with that, often say things to get much more of your attention. Language. Boys in particular discover that beyond the potty talk, there are swear words and there are sexual words and phrases, and they will use them and experiment with them. Girls to a lesser degree, but boys find the world of language fascinating. They have no clue necessarily what they're saying, but they will often use these words, so please do not be thrown by that. Often they may repeat. An 8 and 9-year-old, when they're in their play, may repeat, and girls almost more than boys, will repeat things that they've heard moms and dads say. Boys will do that in a much more public way and public manner. So the energy is there, but the internal energy and reflection that goes on at 9. And at 9, they begin to worry about you, your health, your well-being. And it's a concern, it's a little settling for them. And so don't be surprised about that. While their health is good, as I mentioned that the 8-year-old will complain when something is new, the 9-year-old takes a little different spin. In other words, for example, if they don't really necessarily want to practice their piano or viola, they'll just say, oh, my fingers hurt. I just can't do it. Or if they're doing their homework and they don't really want to do that, they'll go, you know what, my eyes are really hurting today. I just, my eyes hurt. So they will do it more that way, and really setting those, parameters and limits for them. I want to identify a couple of websites for you. Our technology department has really responded to parents' requests for where do I go to talk about what are appropriate movies, video games, really media. And so the website is www.commonsensemedia.org. Another website I'd like to direct you to is the www.loveandlogic.com. I highly recommend you look at this parenting program. And the last one is we're videotaping the first 15 minutes of this profile as a summary, and we're placing it on the USM website, www.usmk12.org. If you scroll down on the right, you'll see a little red YouTube icon, and if you click on the YouTube icon, you'll see this summary and all of the other developmental profiles that I'm doing PK through 8th grade, so the 3-year-old all the way to the 14-year-old. I also discovered that if you would go to YouTube itself and type in, for example, today, 3rd grade developmental profile, it should pop up also. Parents are always asking me for a book. What's a good book? And at this age, the one that I'm going to suggest is the book Parenting with Love and Logic from the Love and Logic program. It's also available in our lower school library. They understand developmentally parenting issues, so they have a book that is specifically for birth to 6 years. This is for the years that your child is in, and then they have another one for parents of teens to deal with that. But I will say to parents that often when you look at the mammoth amount of books that are out there, often they scare us, intimidate us, or make us feel really just concerned about what to do with our child. So I always say, let's have a conversation. As a matter of fact, the way to reach me, and I really welcome your visits, your calls, your emails. I'm located actually on the 3rd floor of this new wing of the lower school, and I'm right across from the science wing. My phone number, direct line with confidential voicemail, is 414-540-3220, and also my email is psalerno@usmk12.org. So one of the goals that we want to accomplish this year is a sense of independence. And in that independence, taking responsibility for your actions. They need to be writing in their assignment notebooks. They need to be packing up their things. They need to really be in charge of their homework. Your role is to set the appropriate place to study, the time to study, and to oversee that they've done their homework. But their responsibility is really, truly to do the work. If they have some struggles, the first step in empowering them is really having them talk to their teacher. Because often, especially 8s, will make mom want to take care of everything. So this is a year of growing independence and a sense of responsibility. It's an exciting and challenging year, and there is so much more that we're going to talk about this morning and answer your questions as well in looking at how we deal with this particular amazing journey of expansiveness of mind with the energy that's there and enjoy.